Okay, we are on Facebook Live and we believe we have a quorum here for the June 29th, 2021 legislative session of the Town Council, and I believe we have a quorum. And I'll pass it over to you, Acting Mayor Habgood.
Thank you very much, Jim. Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meetings Act was provided through the posting, mailing, and filing of the annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings of the Town Council on December 11th, 2020. The notice was on that date posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, provided to the Westfield Leader and the Star Ledger, and filed with the clerk of the town of Westfield. Mrs. Rowley, may I have a roll call?
Mayor Brindle, council members Habgood,
Yes.
Parmalee,
Here.
Agrippo,
Here.
Katz,
Here.
Mackey,
Here.
Contract,
Here.
Dardia,
Here.
Boyce.
Here.
Okay, salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay,
Thanks. Jim, do you want to give your updates?
sure. Thank you,
Yep.
Mayor. Couple of quick things to mention. Paving and Elizabethtown gas work. If anyone's been down North Avenue or East Dudley, you know Elizabethtown Gas is doing a lot of work, a lot of detours. This is, if you remember earlier in the year, this was a project that starts on North Avenue, goes all the way down East Dudley through other parts of town into Kenilworth. So it's a long project, but as we've talked about, all the work they're doing will result in newly paved roads for us, newly striped roads when it's finished, and we're getting infrastructure improvements as it goes along. So, but yes, that started on Dudley and North. They're proceeding actually rather quickly every day. I'm surprised at how they've gone pretty quick. In reference to paving, 13 roads have been paved and finished, and I think the striping should be almost finished. The last two that were paved this last week, Lawrence, the section of Lawrence and Roanoke, and the contractor for Elizabethtown Gas is going back out to do the restriping of crosswalks and stop bars, etc. So the next area that Elizabethtown Gas will be focused on for paving, now that their gas main replacement work is done, is the Oak Avenue Sherwood Parkway area. And as we mentioned before, as they finish up gas main work in different parts of town, they'll then follow up with the paving crews. I know they're also waiting for, I think, 2 or 3 homeowners in the Paulstead, Cumberland area to finish up, and then they'll be going to that after they do Oak and Sherwood area. So they are methodically working through, but 13 roads have been done, and we believe they'll be at the Oak Avenue Sherwood Parkway area probably in the next few weeks. In addition to that, we have our own road projects contractor we hired. There was an initial pre-construction meeting, as we mentioned last time. We also mentioned that there was some delay in materials because of the pandemic, but good news is they have the materials in. Manhole covers were actually, manholes were the one that was really on hold up. They received them, I believe, earlier this week. So we'll be working with a new engineer who's going to have another pre-construction meeting with them tomorrow, or no, sorry, Thursday. So he can actually meet and greet the people firsthand and be able to establish relationships and then establish a schedule for our paving. So we'll have more to share on that, but that we expect the paving of our roads to start in the next couple of weeks. And we're also including our in-house engineering inspector, Chris Roth, in those meetings to make sure that he's on scene in addition to our engineer for those projects. And also on tonight's agenda, we have 2 resolutions, each one for awarding contracts for our 2 state aid jobs that we actually bid out. We received bids since our last meeting, and we'll be awarding those tonight, hopefully. And then engineer's office will be working with those contractors to finish those jobs and get those done this summer. One is Willow Grove Road, the entire length, and one is Prospect Street from Dudley to Brightwood. And both of those we hope to get done in July and August before school reopens, as they both border schools. So paving is right now it's moving along, but it will ramp up considerably July, August, and beyond, both Elizabethtown Gas and town. So some more detours and disruptions, but overall infrastructure improvements all along the way. Estimated tax bills, the letters went out this week, late last week. A reminder to residents, what that means is these are estimated bills because the state's budget is not finalized and the county has not had an opportunity to certify the rate. So to keep cash flow coming in, we have to do the estimated bills by law. Due date is August 1st with a 10 calendar day grace period. And of course, just a reminder, taxes can be paid online if you choose to. On our website, on the tax collector's page, there's a link for that. But the building is open, and Henry would love nothing more to see you in the office as well. So if you want to come in and pay in person, that's fine too. And also street sweeping, townwide street sweeping starts July 6th. We do this every summer now, where we're just going to have a systematic approach, and that starts July 6th. And this is just a chance to remind everybody, with the new website, we have this new opportunity for direct messaging. People that want to sign up for specific things. Previously, we had our town update area, but now we've converted that into the Notify Me town update section on the new website, which allows you to go to the website at westfieldnj.gov/town updates. It brings you right to the Notify Me page, and you have a chance to sign up for any and all notifications you choose, everything from agendas to updates to alerts. So you can sign up for street sweeping alerts, leaf collection alerts, for example. You can sign up for paving alerts, that all the things coming up this summer, and even financial alerts, estimated tax bills, and when taxes are due. So, and the main change is, besides getting an email, you can also get it on text, through text through your phone. So in reference to street sweeping, please sign up for that. We'll be pushing that out as often as possible. We're trying to change the process so that we can actually encourage people to get cars off the road the day before we come. So we're going to try to give information on grids of streets we'll be in. So if you're there, we can move your cars off the road. But again, just a reminder, please sign up for any and all updates. I've signed up for every single one, so I'm getting texts all the time, but I'm aware of what's going on, which is important. Everything from agendas to paving updates. And lastly, just for me, acting mayor, Conservation Center, it will be closed on Sunday, July 4th, in honor of the July 4th holiday, which is on our calendar. And just to mention on there too, on the new website, the calendar can be downloaded to your phone, as well, which we didn't have that feature before. So those are the kind of reminders you could get on your calendar, for example, that the center is closed on July 4th, as an example. So just another way to go to the website and use some of the new functions we have. So that's my quick update.
Jim, real quick, this morning I was tagged on a social media post about Union County, including Tamaqua Park in their county plan. I don't know if that's true. That's the first I've heard of it. Can you comment on that?
I think, yeah, I can. And I think I know it was going to be mentioned later on as well. But for some time now, there's been discussions with the county I think we're one of, maybe the only town, or maybe one or two towns that don't have a county park in their town. We're not giving, there's no plan to have the county have a county park in Westfield, but we also pay the most of any town to the Union County open space bill, open space tax. So the mayor's been talking to the county about what can they do for us, if anything, with the open space money that they do. And so they have just so happened that they're doing a master plan for their county park system, very similar to what we did for our park system here, which culminated in the report in January, February of 2020. So we talked about the Tamaqua Park plan that came out of our plan, the Brandstetter Carroll plan, where they had a lot of suggestions and thoughts. Plus, we just finished up our wetland study of the area in Tamaqua Park, as we discussed last year as well, and earlier this year, potential opportunity for further expansion and use of that area. So the mayor asked them if they would consider including Tamaqua Park in their master plan at their expense to see what might be feasible and come back and make recommendations to us. We're not obligated to do anything. They're not, buying the park. They're not leasing the park. Right now, it's just really an opportunity. And actually, they've obviously, it sounds like they've graciously agreed to do that. But it's, it's only the beginning of the process. And like our master plan, there'll be many months that go by as they'll probably come to seek comments and input from us. And then they'll come back with recommendations and concepts that they hopefully consistent with their own master plan. So that's how I understand what's happening. They've included at their expense Tamaqua Park in their master plan with their consultant rather than us doing our own consultant.
Yeah, just curious, why wasn't that discussed with the council or code review? before the mayor reached out to the county. I mean, that's something that we should talk about it in code review since it is town property, but
Yeah,
I
these are
guess we'll,
discussions the mayor's been having with the county for some time on many different topics. So again, I know she's not here tonight, but you can be more than happy to ask her.
yeah, no, it's just
I think it
disappointing.
was,
I
I think it was brought up at the council.
Yeah,
Yeah,
would-
you're right. I think she's mentioned it in some of her comments before. You're right.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
she has, for sure.
And my next question is for Chief Badalaro. Chief, I'm hearing from some of the officers concerned that the shifts are not fully staffed at the eight offices and down to 6. I don't know if can you comment on that or?
Councilman, let me just make a comment. Again, we can't talk about personnel issues in public, and that's a scheduling issue, contractual issue. So if you want to discuss that, feel free to contact me or Chief Ballor offline, but those are really contractual issues that can't be discussed in public. I don't know the answer to your question, what you're referring to, but we just really can't discuss those in public.
Yeah, just because I think the was put off to the fourth quarter before new police officers could be hired.
I don't know, again, what
Maybe-
you're referring to, but again, contractual issues, feel free, Chief Ballor, and I'm more than happy to talk to any council person offline about contractual issues. As your elected officials, you have every right to get that information, but those are not discussed in public to protect the employees as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jim, for all the valuable updates. We really appreciate it. And good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us virtually tonight. I'll be presiding over the meeting tonight as Mayor Brindle's out of town with her family. Please remember that public comment will only be accepted via Zoom. And although we are live streaming for Facebook, we're live streaming for viewing only on Facebook. The replay will be available afterwards on Facebook, YouTube, and TV 36. As we await the completion of the roof replacement work on the council chambers, we are targeting a return to in-person meetings next month on July 13th. So let's hope that we will see you all there in person next time instead of in little squares. Tonight's agenda includes resolutions to award a contract for the purchase of public works equipment, as well as resolutions to award street paving contracts for Willow Grove Road and a section of Prospect Street, both funded through grant monies, and part of the nearly 18 miles of road that we expect to have paved this year. Jim, thank you for the updates tonight about easy ways for people to learn about detours and road paving updates, because we have been hearing. I'm actually thrilled when we are detoured due to road paving. So I hope everyone sees the upside. Tonight, we'll also be introducing an ordinance on first reading for a redevelopment plan for the Handler Building at 610 North Avenue, located next to Westfield Lumber. The Handler Building is a 100-year-old building that's been used as a manufacturing facility since 1971, most recently making dental equipment until the company was recently sold and relocated to Connecticut. Last year, Greg Reddington, CEO of Redcom, and architect Michelle Modestino came to the town planner, Don Samet, and the mayor expressing an interest in buying the Handler Building and turning it into an indoor vertical hydroponic farm. Their concept, called Ready Farms, was to restore the building to its historical grandeur, provide year-round produce for the community and our local restaurants, operate a mostly plant-based high-end restaurant, a teaching kitchen and event space, and include a large not-for-profit component that includes a potential education partnership with our schools and a collaboration with local food banks. Their vision reflected many of the priorities of this administration and our community: historical preservation and adaptive reuse of an older building, sustainability, equity and inclusion, and economic development, all wrapped up into one proposal. There was one glitch, and it was significant. The Handler Building was included in our affordable housing plan and zoned for residential use. This meant that if the site didn't continue to operate as a manufacturing facility, the only development allowed was residential and at the maximum permitted density, a 27-unit residential apartment building that included 6 affordable housing units that could be built conforming with the current zoning. And after consulting our affordable housing attorney, John Drill, who then consulted with the Fair Share Housing Center, John advised us that Fair Share would be open to transferring the 6-unit affordable housing obligation to another site, as long as the development of that new site was imminent. A promise to add the 6 units to a yet to be identified site was not sufficient, according to Fair Share. Concurrently, the town received a call from a prospective developer of the Williams Nursery site who is readying their application to the planning board for site plan approval to allow for the construction of 130 apartments there, as permitted by the town's affordable housing plan and zoning ordinance. Through discussions with the developer and their representatives, the town, the Fair Share Housing Center, an agreement was reached to modify the allowable density on the Williams Nursery site to accommodate a total of 162 apartments, thereby transferring the 6 affordable housing unit obligation to from the Handler site, all without increasing the town's affordable housing obligations. As a result, over the past few meetings, this council adopted an ordinance allowing for the transfer of the units and passed a resolution amending our fair share housing settlement, which is what is enabling the Handler Vertical Farm redevelopment plan that we are introducing tonight. I'd like to thank this council and the planning board and the staff for their extraordinary efforts to make this happen. And there will be a presentation about this as well. The next result of the 6-unit affordable housing transfer is one less apartment building in town while not changing our affordable housing obligation at all. Additionally, Westfield is gaining a local vertical farm, which will be an economic development driver with significant social impact potential, and the opportunity to create a green corridor along North Avenue, bookended by the new electric vehicle auto dealership called Karma on one end and Ready Farms on the other. This is a win-win for our community. As it relates to downtown, don't miss the return of the DWC's Sweet Sounds Downtown Music Festival, now in its 24th year, which will be held every Tuesday night in July and August from 7 to 9 p.m. Musicians will be perform on Central Avenue at the corner of Quimby and Elm and in Foundation Park. Please come out and support our local businesses while enjoying one of the downtown Westfield's most beloved traditions. And speaking of our local businesses, our newest additions include Custom Ink, Dulce, The Art of Hair, Balanced Corrective Chiropractic, Salon Peak, and Face Aesthetics. Other openings in the coming weeks and months include the new Westfield Pharmacy on Quimby, Bar 3 in the former Westfield Liquor Store on North Avenue, a second Spice Bazaar location serving a vegan menu on Quimby, and the Karma EV dealership on North Avenue. In addition, Robert Anthony Jewelers is moving to a more prominent space on Elm and East Broad Street, formerly the Alex and Annie site, and G Lab Aesthetics is moving to a larger site on Elm Street by the end of the year. I know you'll join me in extending best wishes to them all. Next, I'd like to talk about the Edison School Fields projects. Thank you very much to the residents who have provided their feedback and suggestions and questions already on the proposed Edison School Multipurpose Fields project, which would add new turf multipurpose fields through an unprecedented partnership between the town and the Board of Education. As a reminder, we are in the very initial stages of this public input phase, which will continue over the next few months. Beginning with the homes in the vicinity of Edison School, where outreach is well underway, and followed by broader public meetings on July 21st, September 1st, and September 20th at Edison School. Comments are also being welcomed via email at edisonfields@westfieldnj.gov. You can review the details and the frequently asked questions related to the proposal at westfieldnj.gov/Edison Fields project. I'd also like to read tonight a proclamation honoring Chris McAloon, our town engineer, who joins us for his final town council meeting tonight before retiring. To say that Chris has played an instrumental role in the town's operations is an understatement. He has been responsible for planning, design, and construction of capital improvements for the town, including road improvements, right-of-way acquisition, storm water and utility system improvements, thoroughfare planning, and the management of development contract and easement releases. In addition, he's been in charge of curbside recycling program. He's sat on the planning board and also on the Tree Preservation Commission. If you've ever contacted the town about any of these issues, chances are you've spoken with Chris and likely have seen him drive out to personally look at the concern and address it. He will be greatly missed by everyone in town, and we wish him all the best in his retirement. With that, let's get to work. I want to remind everyone that I will be enforcing Robert's rules this evening. to ensure that we stay on topic and the meeting runs efficiently. And when we get to the public comments segment, we will invite residents to come to the mic, give their comments, and we will address comments and questions at the end of that period. Thank you very much.
Okay, so just go to the proclamation now.
Yes. So I wish that we could be standing for this, Chris. It would seem a little more appropriate. But let me just hang on 1 second.
Chris, let me just say it's been a pleasure working with you for the past 10 years or so, and you'll be surely missed, and sad to see you go.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. And so the proclamation tonight in honor of our town engineer, Chris McAloon. Whereas the role of the municipal engineer is so vital to the governance and welfare of the community that every municipality in the state of New Jersey is required to appoint one in accordance with state law. And whereas the municipal engineers combine their knowledge of science, mathematics, and economics and employ their analytical skills for the betterment of the community and to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the public at large. And whereas in accordance with the code of the town of Westfield, the municipal engineer holds the title and office of town engineer. And whereas Chris McAloon, a state licensed professional engineer formerly employed by the New Jersey Turnpike Authority, joined the town's professional staff on June 26, 2000. As the assistant town engineer and effective January 1st, 2009 was first appointed town engineer by the town council. And whereas after dedicating most of his professional life to public service, Mr. McAloon has announced his retirement after 21 years of service to the town of Westfield. And whereas in addition to overseeing Westfield's municipal infrastructure systems, Mr. McAloon has managed multiple responsibilities, such as the administration and implementation of the town's annual capital project program, preparing plans and specifications for public bidding in accordance with all local, state, and federal standards, contract administration, cost estimates, coordination with other governmental agencies and utility companies, grant applications and administration, design review of complex major site plans and subdivisions submitted to the planning board, road opening permits and inspections, and support to the other municipal departments. And whereas during his tenure as the town engineer, Mr. McAloon served on the planning board as a Class 2 member for 11 years, attended town council meetings, public works committee meetings, and public safety, transportation, and parking committee meetings to lend his expertise as needed, and supervised many infrastructure and capital improvements from the dredging and edging of the Mindoascan Pond to the construction of the DPW police annex, from the design and the implementation of improvements to the conservation center to the expansion of recycling opportunities, from modernizing internal operations and employing the latest GIS software to the milling and paving of upwards of 320 roadways. And whereas according to his colleagues, Chris will be remembered not only for his accomplishments as the town engineer, but for his respectful demeanor, his positive outlook, his everyday work ethic, his willingness to jump in and help coworkers, even when swamped with his own work, and his commitment to continuous improvement to benefit the town of Westfield and its residents. And whereas this being his last town council meeting, the town council and I wish to recognize his 21 years of honorable and impactful service to the council and the community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Mayor Shelley Brindle, on behalf of the town, in recognition of the lasting value of his contributions to the community, hereby extends a heartfelt thank you to Chris McAloon for his 21 years of service and dedication to the Westfield community. Further, I hereby congratulate him on the occasion of his retirement and wish you, Chris, much health and happiness in the future.
Yes, you're here.
Good luck,
What do you
Chris.
miss, Chris?
Can I just add that, Linda, not only did Chris do all that, but his interaction with residents was really, exceptional. And I know I asked Chris to go out in the rain to look at sewer drains and to check on flooding with his galoshes on. Chris, thank you immensely. And I know the residents, if they were here, would thank you for everything you've done for our town. We will absolutely miss you, and you have big shoes to fill. But you're leaving big shoes to fill.
Thank you, Chris, for everything that you've done to help me on the Public Safety, Transportation and Parking Committee. So just incredibly grateful for all of your help. And I think you were one of the first members to teach me the 3 E's, right? Education, enforcement, engineering. So thank you so much. I won't forget that.
Yeah, Chris,
Thank you.
I'm gonna jump onto the fray as well. I mean, I only met you only about a year and a half ago, but I've really appreciated all the time that we've spent together. You always happen to laugh at my dumb jokes that I make during the committee meetings. I'm sorry that David just outed you, the fact that you own galoshes.
Sorry.
You really are, the actual in-person face of Westfield, and I couldn't have asked for a better person. I couldn't imagine a better person to be able to interact with the public and represent the town as you've done over all these years. So it's been great knowing you for just this short period of time. I really do appreciate, having been elected now, all the work that you actually do and all the work that it takes to get the things done that you're able to get done. So thanks a lot. Best wishes in your future endeavors. And, look for the Macaloon signal up in the clouds down in wherever you end up, just in case we need you to parachute back in case of emergency.
Yeah, Chris, again, we met 12 years ago on the planning board. I was new to local ordinances, and you stepped up and helped me at the time. I don't know if you remember, but it's good times over the years, and hopefully keep in touch, and best of luck to you and your family.
Great.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
just gonna finish off, Chris. I just want to wish you the best. You really, really earned this retirement. You earned every minute of it. And I'm really gonna miss you. You're always such a great sport in those long committee meetings. So I thank you, and I wish you a very happy next chapter.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just going to add a couple of words. Obviously, it's a little bittersweet for me. It's been a great 21 years. Just feel this is the right time, the right culmination of what I've accomplished to just kind of finish my career. And as you've all said, I just want to start by thanking, obviously, Mayor Brindle, all of you council members, and prior elected officials who had the confidence in my abilities to be the town engineer. I've enjoyed working with you, discussing, deliberating a lot of the policies and ordinances that have been implemented over my time with the town, and really have shaped this town to the great condition that it is and will become. I know there's a lot more work that's coming up, and glad to be a part of that as well. And really, as Jim has said, and I've iterated to my coworkers, I can't express the appreciation and gratitude for the people that I have worked with over those 21 years. Many who are on the call right now, they honestly made me look forward to coming to work every day. I enjoyed it. Sharing stories, whether it's personal, professional, trying to, problem solve and troubleshoot issues that arose, and just dealing with all the various issues that really became my second family, the work family. And all that I really have accomplished, everything that was identified and said, really wouldn't have been possible had it not been for their input, their support. Again, just that team effort that I really believe is second to none in the state. From Jim all the way down to DPW workers, police, fire, everybody is really a big part of those accomplishments. And speaking of Jim, there really is no way I can properly acknowledge everything that you've done for me and my family. The constant encouragement, support, that allowed me to develop as a person, as an engineer, to where I am today. You really, again, The support allowed me to become a better person, a better employee, a better boss. And I just really appreciate all that you did for me, and I am forever grateful for your leadership and encouragement. But most of all, definitely your friendship that we've had over these years. I couldn't really have committed myself to all this time, these 21 years, had it not been for family. You know, Councilwoman Mackey, as you said, those late night council meetings, committee meetings, planning board meetings, you know, the construction that had to be done overnight on a holiday, on a weekend, water main breaks that took time away from, you know, a party at home. I couldn't have committed myself to the job had I not had that support from my family at home. My wife, Larissa, my son and now daughter-in-law, Christian and Marina, my daughter, Dariana. I really thank them more than anything for allowing me to invest as much time as I needed to and as work required to make it as good as I can. And just lastly, I just want to say it's truly been an honor and a privilege to serve the council and the residents of Westfield for 21 years. And while I may physically be leaving Westfield, I know that it will forever be in my heart. So again, just thank you very much. I appreciate all the kind words and look forward to what the future holds for me.
Thanks, Chris. The best gift we can give you now is to let you leave this meeting, correct?
Keep your cell phone on, sir.
He's having internet issues.
Everyone knows how to get in touch with me. Absolutely.
Truly appreciate your time and dedication, Chris. And again, we'll be talking, but again, just well said. And again, you won't miss some of these meetings, I'm sure, but we'll miss you tremendously. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you all again. I really appreciate it, and all the best, and wish you all well.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Linda, and council members. That was great.
Yeah.
Only shame is we can't be in person. That's it.
I was just thinking the same thing, Jim, that it's such a shame because the house would be packed tonight with people if we were in person in his honor, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we should get back to the agenda.
Yes.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the town council conference and regular meetings of June 15th, 2021?
Move.
Moved by Councilman LaGripo. Second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Contract. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes. Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Mrs. Riley, do we have any petitions or communications?
No, acting mayor, we do not.
Okay, so now it's time for open discussion by citizens. Please virtually raise your hand to make your comment on any subject in which the council has jurisdiction, and be sure to state your name and address for the record. I'll just remind everyone what I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, that we will invite people to the mic, and we will take notes on topics that are raised, and then I and other members of the council and perhaps Jim Gilday will provide feedback or answers to questions at the end. So thank you all for coming.
Mayor. I just wanted to chime in. It's up to you. There's no right way to do it. You want to have the presentation before the public session in case there's questions on that?
Yes, that probably does make sense.
Just in case.
So why don't we do that, and then we'll go back to the discussion.
Sure, and I guess it's Chris Colley and Phil Abramson. You guys went off camera. Forgot about you for a minute.
We're here.
All right, why don't you guys go ahead?
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Thanks for having us this evening, members of the council, members of the public. My name is Chris Colley. I'm a planner with the firm Topology. We are the redevelopment planners for the town of Westfield. It's good to be back here again. I'm joined with my colleague, Phil Abramson, who's our principal and CEO. I'm going to share my screen briefly, and we have a little presentation this evening, should be relatively short, 10 minutes or so. to provide a little bit of an overview of the Handler redevelopment plan, which the council is considering this evening. Everyone can see my screen, right? Yeah, okay, great. So to discuss the Handler redevelopment plan, which the council is considering this evening, and which, some of the, I think, really important details were covered in Councilwoman or Acting Mayor Havgood's opening remarks. So just, this is the second time we've been in front of this board, this council to discuss a redevelopment plan, but for folks who aren't familiar with the term, redevelopment plan generally means a new zoning, change in zoning, typically more detailed than traditional zoning, has sort of more options for customization than traditional zoning, but at its core, it's a change of the zoning of a property. And the property that we're here to discuss this evening is the Handler property, which most of you probably know quite well, located along North Avenue, industrial structure that you're seeing in these images. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the building, the location, a little bit of history, and then I'll provide you with a fairly high level overview of the actual plan content, and we can take whatever questions are necessary afterwards. So this is the site location located along North Avenue East out towards the Garwood border. It's a property of about 1.1 acres. You can see it highlighted here in yellow. The property sits along a stretch of North Avenue, which is primarily commercial on the south side with some industrial uses as well. Westfield Lumber is located to the east, American Tire towards the west, and it's this pentagon that's outlined here in red, an industrial structure in the middle with a floor plate of roughly 30,000 square feet, mainly one story throughout with a second story mezzanine up in the front, parking areas along the west side, and a little more parking and loading over on the east side. Just to take you on the ground level a little bit, I'll sort of start from the top left and walk you through these. This is the front of the structure taken from North Avenue. So as I said, two-story masonry in the front. You'll note the sort of large industrial style windows consistent with the historic industrial use. Taking you inside the building, this is the main floor area. It's a poured concrete floor. Sort of heights varying internally, some areas with more of a double height type configuration, some areas slightly lower, and some sort of support offices located throughout the building. This is the eastern facade. You'll note the former loading areas here, primary loading area here, and this is that second story mezzanine that I referenced earlier. The building has been, as I said, used for industrial purposes for many years, a wide range of them, and condition sort of varies in different places. This area needs a little bit of love, other areas in better shape, but certainly has served the town in a variety of roles over the last 100 years or so. So we'll take you back 100 years. The building was constructed at some point in the early 20th century. So dates may vary, but we know that it was built in the early 20th century. It's housed a bunch of different industrial users, manufacturing type users over its lifespan. Significantly for locals living in Westfield now, in 1971, Handler Manufacturing, which is a dental manufacturing company, started operations. They operated in that facility for about 50 years. Importantly for the zoning history, and an important thing that was alluded to in the opening remarks, in 2013, the property was rezoned for inclusionary zoning for housing for a total of roughly 28 units or so. And that was adopted by the council in May of 2013, and was sort of a culmination of a period of time where this property had been identified in the town's planning documents as a potential affordable housing location. Another significant fact or significant date in this timeline is October of 2020, which is when this council elected to designate the town of Westfield as a quote unquote area in need of rehabilitation. This plan is written under that designation, the area in need of rehabilitation designation. And like the key fact for that, for the purpose of our discussion tonight, and just for folks to be aware of, is that properties under that designation are not eligible for long-term tax exemptions or pilots. So this property with that designation would not be eligible for that moving forward. More recently, and this was also alluded to before, really sort of important zoning act, or I should say the legislative act that enabled us to come to you this evening with the plan that you have to consider was an amendment to the town's housing element and fair share plan just a few weeks ago. And what this amendment did significantly is it relocated those affordable housing obligations that were placed on the site back in 2013 over to the Williams site and directly suggested in there that a redevelopment plan should be pursued for the reuse of the building as for a commercial purpose, which finally takes us to tonight. And we're here to talk about the reuse for that commercial purpose. And it's a reuse that we think is like super exciting, frankly, more exciting than a lot of projects, and one that has an opportunity to have a really positive impact on the North Avenue corridor and the town as a whole. So like towns do redevelopment plans for a bunch of different reasons. All these plans are a little different. Like that's one of the cool things about them. They're a flexible way to accomplish like broader community objectives. And like the core of this plan is really about permitting a unique collection of uses and permitting a unique collection of uses that we think will really help address some of the key master plan goals that you all identified in your recent document, especially enhancing the viability of your business corridors and your business districts. So that use, the central use and the only permitted principal use that's allowed under this redevelopment plan is the creation of an indoor vertical farm with supporting uses. So just a moment on indoor vertical farms. I'm not a vertical farmer myself, but we've done quite a bit of research in preparing this plan. It's sort of a growing element or growing component of the agricultural industry. Like some of the key benefits of this style of farming is that it can be done year round, right? It can be done in areas where you can't farm year round. It's efficient on a sort of per square foot basis. Importantly, like it's local, so it minimizes transportation costs, gets you access to local agriculture in areas where that might be more difficult or where it might be more expensive. And it allows you to grow and sort of experiment with a wide variety of different crops, often leafy greens. I will note, I know the town has acted on a ban on cannabis products. If you're wondering, that indoor vertical farms as defined under this plan prohibit any sort of cannabis uses. So no concerns there on that front. There'll be no issue on that front. So I mentioned 2 slides ago that like the vertical farm is the key, the sort of central component of this plan. But the plan also allows a bunch of what we describe as ancillary and accessory uses. So like the vertical farm needs to have a retail sales area for the sale of its products. There's an opportunity for operators to do sort of R&D in there in terms of techniques for growing and things of that nature. And then it also permits accessory uses associated with the farm, like a restaurant, a teaching kitchen, and what we're referring to as special purpose rooms, which are really like classrooms, event spaces, and things of that nature. So just, you can imagine like sort of at the center of the constellation, this indoor vertical farm, and then surrounding it like a bunch of related uses that we think should create a really cool sort of ecosystem of different activities and educational opportunities and commercial opportunities and all things of that nature. So often when we do these presentations, we show new site plans and conceptual plans and building renderings and things like that. That's not really the case here, because this is really a plan focused around adaptive reuse of an existing building. As I said, the use is the key. So like under this plan, the existing building is to remain, it's to be rehabilitated. We have some rehab standards in there, but the plan is really structured around keeping and restoring and rehabbing that existing building. And I'll also note, like generally the layout will also remain consistent, and the standards in the plan are written in a way to ensure that in terms of the parking configuration, the setbacks, like the building placement will largely remain the same should you elect to adopt this plan and move forward with implementing the projects. So I'll just wrap with a couple of next steps. Tonight is June 29th. The council is considering potential introduction of the plan. Should you choose to introduce it, it would move to the planning board. Well, they'll do a review of consistency with the master plan. We'll do a detailed presentation that evening. You should tune in to compare the plan to the master plan. And then ultimately it would come back before this body for a second reading and potential adoption. As a final step in the redevelopment process, the redevelopment agreement which is, the highly sort of detailed document, which you have a little bit of experience with from the Westfield Crossing project. And that's where like a lot of the sort of intimate details of the project would be filled in and would be presented both to the council and to the public. So that concludes my overview, and we're happy to take questions or comments or things of that nature. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Chris. So acting mayor, everyone's on mute.
Sorry,
Okay.
I was trying to avoid the dog barking. Jim, should we take questions first as it relates to the redevelopment proposition?
Well, yeah, I don't know if the council had any
Just more
questions. I know
general.
we heard this presentation in the conference session for the council
Right.
members. If the council has any questions, we can then open up the public portion and go right to that, if that's okay with everybody. Everyone's okay with that? Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes
All right.
sense.
So, and then again, the open public portion is for any topic, not just this topic, but you can ask questions on this. And again, as the councilman and acting mayor said, if we have an answer, we can provide it after the fact. But we can take the information down and get an answer if we don't have it tonight. So public portion, anyone want to be heard, feel free to raise your hand virtually. We can call upon you, maximum 10 minutes, and name and address when you are called upon. Again, raise your hand virtually, we can call upon you. Anyone looking to speak? No one's rushing. Oh, here we go. Okay, we have Miss Carrie Murphy. Are you there?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was muted for some reason.
Okay.
I'm a little confused. Are we talking only about this project or about the fields and anything?
This is the public portion of the meeting, so you can actually talk about anything you like.
Okay, so no one's going to present anything on the fields. I thought that was going to be a discussion tonight, or that's just something we can discuss ourselves tonight.
There's no presentation tonight for the fields, but you can ask questions if you choose to, or we'll give information. Sure.
Okay, great. Yes, I do.
Address, please.
Yes, Carrie Murphy, 502 Cotting Road.
Great, thanks.
Okay, I have a couple of questions on the fields and various other things. First, I think the Handler building sounds like a great idea. Let's just hope we can get a handle on congestion over there. So I know that David had brought up a question to the council last week regarding parking and congestion and things like that. They were great questions. I personally can't imagine how that's going to be handled, particularly when there's multiple games going on at Edison, Sid Fay. It will be very congested over there. I wanted to see if David had gotten any feedback on that and could share that on the call tonight, or if that's coming, down the line. But it would be great to get those kinds of answers prior to moving too much further down the line with this project. Dawn, I wanted to see if you'd been doing any outreach around the ward. I'm not aware of it, so if you are, I would love to be a part of it and just give you my feedback and understanding what you're thinking about it. If you're meeting with residents, I'd like to be a part of that. As far as the plan itself, I wanted to see if this option was the only option for fixing the field. The only option was to spend $18 million. I wanted to see if the planning firm had presented several options and not just one that was a three-phased option. And if they did, is that something that residents can, kind of get a better understanding of? The $18 million price tag sounds like a lot. Wanted to see if you'd reached out to several firms before you decided on just the one. I had a question within the particular plan. The lighting seems to chew up $4 million of the budget. I guess maybe later on we'll be able to better understand why lighting is such a big cost. I guess, when I think of that kind of lighting, I think of, like the Patriot Field or Yankee Stadium. But I wanted to see if you did, or if you can reach out to residents who aren't necessarily going to receive the benefit from that field and would prefer to see the money evenly spread among several fields in town, perhaps some of the tennis courts over by the Board of Ed building. There's a lot of fields in town that can really use some attention as well. I had a question with the $1 a year for 30 years. What happens after 30 years? Do we just not have access to the field anymore? Or does the dollar turn into a much bigger price tag? When students are in class not using the field, will they be rented out to other, sports teams, that sort of a thing? The other thing, I had a question, and it's a little unusual, but I've been hearing that people have been reached out to from various different sports teams and bands and things like that to get on the call. They were encouraged to get on the call and give feedback. I don't ever remember getting emails about other council calls to call in and give my feedback. And it sort of reminded me of the cannabis call, where out of nowhere, people who were, receiving benefit from medicinal marijuana were calling in. It felt out of place to me. So I just want to see, is that going to be an ongoing thing where we're prompting people to get on the call? Can someone tell me how much time I have left?
You have about 7 minutes left.
Oh, okay, good. So that was it for the fields. I did have a couple of questions, and I guess this would be more geared to David Contract, who is running the green team. And so there are questions related to the green team and different programs going on there. I was just recently beginning to notice a lot more of the Wonder Trucks that are going around through town, specifically, I guess, on the north side of town, but I see them parked everywhere. They're idling while meals are being made. They're very noisy. And the noise that's coming from the truck is definitely, I would imagine, disturbing for the people who live around the area. I'm asking about this because a big deal is being made about residents and lawn maintenance companies using leaf blowers to beautify our own property. So if we're going to try and ban using leaf blowers at certain times of the year, it doesn't seem fair to allow these Wonder Trucks to sort of service whoever they want, whenever they want, when essentially it's a similar noise pollution as the leaf blowers. And it just, it doesn't make sense to me. It feels quite unfair. On a separate note, as it relates to the Wonder Trucks, actually, I'll get back to that. We recently received a survey online on Facebook about the reusable takeout containers, which is wonderful. It's a great idea. The one thing I would ask is the Board of Health on board with this? And, have you gone through all of those hoops to make sure it's not a safety issue? But on a separate note, as it relates to that particular survey, it was sent off on 2 different Facebook pages under the title of reusable takeout container survey. So for people in town who may not necessarily, concern themselves with that, they weren't going to open the survey and fill it out. I did open the survey and I read down through it. And I was a little bit surprised to see that the title is slightly misleading, because when you read further down, particularly number 8, it says general interests and awareness. And it seems to contain almost everything else, I imagine, that's on the green team agenda or close to it. For anyone who didn't get the opportunity to open it up and read it, I'll just read through some of these general interest and awareness questions. They're pretty big questions, and I feel like they deserve more than just a, if you open up this survey about containers, you'll see what we're looking at. The first one is creating a safe bike lane and bike parking. Wonderful idea, noble, but it'd be easier to answer the question if we knew how it was going to happen and what it would cost. Building a community garden, same thing, easy to answer the questions if we knew how and what it would cost. Preserving our parks from invasive plants and animal species, don't know what that would cost or how you would go about doing it. Hard to answer the question. That's pretty basic for all the things I'm pointing out. Rationalizing trash collection process, I have no idea what that means. To be able to spell that out a little bit better for people filling out the survey so we can answer it, and what's it going to cost us. Developing and implementing a plan to mitigate and adapt to climate change. That's a huge topic, certainly worthy of a big town discussion, and it's an important discussion, but it shouldn't be, hidden in this survey where a lot of people probably aren't opening it. Creating additional opportunities to reduce waste and recycle, protecting the environment during redevelopment and park improvement projects. Not sure what that means. Creating more frequent Free markets, that's all well and good. Addressing localized stormwater runoff with green infrastructure like gardens or, porous pavement. And, I'm thinking to that, the rock garden that was put in at Tamaquis. I feel like that is doing what that particular line item said, which is great. But if Tamaquis was renovated, I'm pretty sure that the drainage would have been fixed and we wouldn't have that problem. But anyway, it just feels like it's a huge topic. All these things are huge topics. It was hidden under a title of reusable plastic containers. And my experience from hearing about surveys in town is that the survey goes out and then, from here on in, when people fill out the survey, it's like the holy grail for whatever happens down the line. The green team will look at the survey and say, well, we sent out a survey and, nobody really responded to it. Or, these were the responses we got. So, we're going for that. But so I would hope, and I would, I think, David, maybe there's a better way of getting that particular number 8 out into the public eye so that people are more aware of these things. They can answer honestly. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice by hiding it. I think you're doing us more of a service by putting it out there so we can get more involved in it and we can understand what the projects are and we can wrap our heads around them and we can embrace them rather than just hiding it. A lot of those programs are going to cost taxpayers money, which is, if they're worthy of it, then that's fine. But again, just be transparent. Don't stick it inside of a survey that's not labeled for that particular or those set of particular subjects. I guess the last concern that I had was that, we're having these votes. The town council is voting on a lot of big ticket items. And from where I sit as a resident, it doesn't seem that I guess it feels like a conflict of interest because most of the council is on the re-election committee. So for me, it's a conflict of interest. The votes don't, they don't seem like they're fair. Anyway, that's it for me.
Thank you. That's your 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Okay, we have Erez Lieberman. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Name and address, please.
Yeah, I'm in 12 Normandy Drive.
Great.
Thank you all for allowing me to speak. I want to speak about the plan with the fields in Edison. I'm a huge proponent of upgrading fields. I'm the father of 2 very active boys who play soccer in town. I love seeing them play and I love seeing other sports in town. I go sometimes watch other sports around town. So certainly understand the need to increase field availability and I'm absolutely in favor of that. When I heard about upgrading the fields at the middle school, I was also immediately excited. I live near them and I think having better fields here would be fantastic. That said, to me, the proposal last year to upgrade the fields at Tamaquis Park, which I also is my favorite park, Memorial Park, Edison School, Elm Street, that was the most amazing. It upgraded fields and parks throughout the community. It created amazing fields for kids to get to by walking and biking in multiple parts of town and not just where I happen to live and where my kids are now going to be able to do that. Also, to anyone who's been at Houlihan and Sid Fay, the parking and drop-off pickup situation is nothing short of horrific. And I say that knowing that that's a strong term, but it is horrific. Exiting the parking lot is a challenge, but that's not the horrific part. The horrific part is that every time I pick up my kids there, I'm thankful if I don't get dinged by another car, ding another car, or heaven forbid, hit a kid. And that's caused by the true congestion of parking, of course, and the problems of getting out onto one road like that. Last year's plan to spread out the fields would, to me, help alleviate that, creating fields across town and not just in one spot. It would allow us to have people walking or biking to fields as opposed to always driving to fields and really help that out. And so again, I thought that that was a terrific plan and also would maintain the character of each part of our town, not just maintain that character, it would upgrade the character of each part by creating better parks, not in one part of town, but throughout the town. I was frankly caught off guard when the plan to benefit each part of town was supplanted by a plan that would not upgrade multiple parks and spread them around, but instead concentrate these changes in one area. While noble in intent, and again, I am fully in favor of upgrading fields, it creates a type of sports complex that I often see along farm roads and industrial avenues. I grew up in Monmouth County and am jealous each time I drive by remote areas there, industrial areas there that have these tremendous lighted fields, amazing fields all in these areas, and easy access in and out, no problem at all. But for better or worse, and I think it's for better because we all choose to live here, we don't live in Monmouth County, and so we can't really plant a sports complex in the middle of a farm area or a non-residential area. Instead, the plan that we're looking at is transporting or transplanting a sports complex into an area across the street from Keller, essentially converting the Rahway Grove Street area into congested parking lot, adding the noise pollution, the massive lights that go along with the current plan. Now, I think that there are reasons to concentrate fields. For example, if there is access to tremendous shared parking, and then you can save on creating more lots, or if there's otherwise a huge savings of money, or it's an area where you're bringing actually positive new traffic to where you want to bring new traffic to, maybe like those farm areas or the industrial areas that I'm talking about in the Monmouth County area. But I am very perplexed here by an idea to concentrate the fields where there's no parking to handle the people, and the parking effects are actually worse. So concentrating fields doesn't make sense in that regard. It changes the character of a neighborhood as opposed to enhancing the character of that neighborhood, where the prior plan, which spread that out, I think would really enhance parks throughout the town. And then we do this and it doesn't even save us the money that I think concentration could do. It instead costs more, much more, without upgrading the additional parks. So those are some of my main concerns. I also, and I've been looking into it, especially as I've talked to friends who's essentially back up right onto this and share the creek with the park. My sons are goalies, especially my older son. He's a goalie. He dives into turf all the time. We have looked into the carcinogen nature of turf, and luckily it does not seem to have a high enough concentration such that his diving into it would cause cancer, or heaven forbid, or none of us would let our kids play on that. But it is, to my understanding, undoubtedly a carcinogen. It's just that the concentration is low enough so that people say it's fine, and I agree with that. But I think that that's very different when we're otherwise planting not 100,000 square feet, but if I'm not mistaken, it's 400 some odd thousand square feet, rolling into the creek on top of people's houses. And again, if someone said, well, there's really no other option, this saves a tremendous amount. It brings so many benefits that we can't otherwise. I think okay, so you start talking about that. But to me, the other plan had so many other benefits that we're now introducing a potential health risk, the noise pollution, obviously creating just a congested nightmare on Rahway, and then increasing costs and increasing the carcinogenic chances there. So these are just questions. I know there's going to be a lot more discussion about this and ways around it. As I said, I am fully in favor of finding a way to upgrade fields. I like the idea of upgrading them throughout the town, including here, having some upgrades here for sure. Look, that's a benefit to me if I can walk to a nice field. But as I said, just hoping to see that we think through the full around town benefits to the whole town. Thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you, Mr. Lieberman. Okay, we have this. Okay, we have Mr. Lemberg. Yes, Lemberg, Greg Lemberg. Are you there? Mr. Lemberg? You're on mute. Yep, you're on. There you go.
Sorry, I didn't see the mute button.
It's okay. Your name and address, please?
Yep, so Greg Lemberg, 528 Grove Street. I'm also calling in reference to the Edison Field project. I would echo most of what the previous caller said. I've lived on Grove Street for 23 years. I watched Keller go from grass to turf, and the significant increase in activity that took place during that time, the traffic, the noise, and all that other stuff that was just discussed. Putting another, 3 fields across the street and throwing in lights just for good measure, I think is really placing an immense burden on this neighborhood, one that anyone who doesn't live here already and experience the issues with Keller for any, even medium-sized event, let alone big ones like graduations or county track meets or things like that. You can't begin to understand the current situation, let alone what this extra field complex is going to bring. I would go maybe a few steps further and really challenge the need for lit fields in residential neighborhoods. And I realize that's a big statement because most fields in town are residing in residential neighborhoods. But again, we lived through the temporary lighting program that the WSA ran on Keller several years ago for a couple of years. And having noise like athletic events after dark in residential neighborhoods is just very disruptive. It's completely unnatural. It breaks the peace and quiet of the neighborhood. And I really question the need. And I'm not just talking about here. Most of the plans, most of the fields that were talked about in the plan that was presented by the Parks Department last year included lighting that would be up against residential neighborhoods. And I'm not just talking about our neighborhood, I'm talking about all neighborhoods. It's really not, in my view, appropriate to have those. And I know there's all sorts of reasons for them, but I also know in whatever residential neighborhood they might go, there's an equal number of reasons not to have them. And I think the final comment, I know there's other issues, but the other one that I would want to discuss is it seemed as though only turfing was considered in the parks plan, and as opposed to upgrading grass fields on more than just the 4 fields, I believe it was 4 that were talked about for turf. My kids, grew up here. They played sports here, and they played sports in college, and at a competitive level, such that we traveled kind of all over the place for tournaments and whatnot. And the vast majority of fields that they played on for college level events were grass fields. They were properly designed. They were well drained. They had the right kind of grass and the right kind of substrate, and they were able to withstand the kind of activities that these tournament events would bring. And that did not seem to be part of the thought process based on what came out of the parks plan. And it just seems as though that would be a missed opportunity, because we're a town that likes to pursue green opportunities, and yet instead we're talking about taking the few patches of green that we have left in town, putting turf on them, along with the carcinogenic concerns that the last caller mentioned. So those are sort of the top of my list. The list goes longer, but I'm not going to take up any more time. But I really do think that we need to hit the pause button on this whole plan and rethink it.
Great, thanks, Mr. Lemberg.
Sure.
Okay, we have Joycey. Is that? Are you there?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Name and address, please.
Joycey Bartukian, 9 Doris Parkway, here in Westfield. I too am, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. I also am calling about the Edison Fields Turf Project. Quite honestly, I felt very blindsided by this whole proposal. And I just think it needs to be rethought. So first of all, lights, especially stadium lights, they don't belong in residential neighborhoods. They belong in stadiums. Our neighborhood is already burdened with overflow parking and traffic whenever there's an event at Keeler or at the Edison Intermediate School. And my understanding is this proposal doesn't even offer any new parking. So how would you address what would surely be a traffic parking nightmare? And it's going to be at all hours if you have stadium lights. It's unbelievable to me. This is a safety concern. And, you know, it's a safety concern for children walking, for the children who are playing in the fields. I'm quite frankly surprised that nobody's really addressed that. So I understand the need to stay, for the town to stay competitive regarding its sports offerings. Absolutely, we need to do that to be competitive with the surrounding towns. But why does this location have to become a concentration of so many fields rather than upgrading and developing all the fields that already exist throughout Westfield? It just doesn't make any sense to me. I haven't even talked about the price tag, especially knowing that there was a proposal a few years ago to use Tamaqua, and that would have been in a non-residential area, and it would have been a third of the price tag. So I really think this needs to be discussed further. So look, but by building this complex, you not only create a safety concern with all the cars and traffic and congestion, you're going to create light and noise pollution. We don't know what kind of environmental impact it could have, especially with the stream in the back. But you're definitely going to destroy the quality of life of our neighborhood. And the thing is, it's not necessary. That's all I have to say.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Laporta, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. Hope you're getting through this heat wave in a healthy fashion.
Yeah.
My
Your address, please, Tony.
My address, yes, is 409 North Chestnut Street, Westfield, New Jersey.
Great, thank you.
Sure. My concern today is with the retirement of our town engineer, not having a replacement, a qualified replacement for him. A town like Westfield over the years has had many resumes come in for qualified people when someone is leaving. I think it's a failure of the administration not to have a qualified person or many people to choose from. I hear things from some town employees that morale is down very low around town because we're not replacing this the town engineer. Now, I believe the job pays $170,000, starts at $170,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now that's a nice salary with great benefits and a great town to work in. It astounds me that we are not having tons of resumes coming in, people begging for this job. Now I've read in the local Westfield Leader that the town is now going to hire an engineering firm to do many things that the town engineer was doing. That has to be much more expensive than having a town engineer. So that is going to cost the taxpayers money, and who knows what kind of work we're going to get. So I'd like someone to address this. I know we don't have a dialogue anymore like we used to have on town council meetings, and I think that's a weakness. We'll talk about that some other time again. But when this public session is closed down, I would really like someone who's ever going to address it to answer my questions in depth why this is happening. That's it for today, Mr. Gilday.
Great. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Okay, we have next person, Rich. Rich, are you there? You're on mute.
Hi, it's Rich Pardo, 1109 Columbus Avenue in Westfield.
Sure. Oh, thank you.
Yep, I've been a resident since 2001. I have 3 kids. All 3 kids have played multiple sports in the town. I have one in college now. They played different sports throughout their childhood. So I've seen what happens at different fields around town. I know everyone would love to have grass on every field, and that would be great if it could happen. But I know in this town, with the amount of kids that we have, and with the amount of kids that play multiple sports in multiple seasons, the fields that we have, even if they were rehabilitated, it's just not going to last. A few years ago, Sycamore, just like a small example, Sycamore was reseeded and I guess regraded a little bit. It was great for 6 months. After 6 months, the field went right back to the way it was, and it hasn't returned to since. Now, if people want to do rehabilitation on all the fields, kind of like what was done there, that's exactly what's going to happen to all the other fields. Unless you want to tell kids that, some of you can't play and some of you can, because, we have to keep the fields in good condition, because you're going to have to take fields out of rotation. It's just not going to work. This is a family town, lots of families with lots of kids who all play sports. And unfortunately, the reality is that turfing is the option that will allow them to play many sports, allow them to play all year long, because that's what they all do. And there's no perfect solution to anything. The one at Edison, in my mind, looking at all the different linings of all the fields, provides the greatest usage for all the user groups outside of the Board of Ed teams. And as long as if the project was built to the specifications that were proposed, it definitely would provide a lot of opportunities for sports groups to use, and provided that there was a agreement with the Board of Ed as far as usage goes. So I think it's a great step. I unfortunately think that more needs to be done than that. And looking back at the Tamacos project that was proposed a number of years ago, yeah, that was also a first step. Wouldn't have solved a whole lot. I can tell you from experience, some groups would have gotten some time on it, but it wasn't solving a lot. So, I commend, the forward thinking and trying to come up with really big ideas and plans for fields for our kids to use. And, I just, hopefully this doesn't go by the wayside like all the other projects and nothing gets done, because it seems like in this town, people want stuff done. They don't want it in their backyard. People want stuff done, but they don't want to pay for it. So something's got to give. Otherwise, we're just going to keep going in the same way we've gone since I've been here, 2001. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Pardo.
Rich, I wish you was proactive 3 years ago.
Okay, we have Mr. Hakala, T. Hakala. Did I pronounce that right? Are you there? You're on mute.
Yes, this is Tom Hackla, 797 Knollwood Terrace.
Okay.
Also calling concerning the Edison field. I do not like having put the lighting in and also opening this up to traveling teams. I do approve that the field needs an upgrade, but to be used by the Board of Ed and the local Westfield sports teams. My main concern, as some people have mentioned, is concerning the parking. Not only the parking off of Rawway Avenue where the school is, but on Knollwood Terrace. There is a cut through that is currently used every day during the school season by the students in our area that goes from Knollwood to the back of Edison School. And during the graduation ceremony on Keller Field, there were quite a number of cars parked in front of my house and down the road. Again, only temporarily, that people used the crossing over to get into Keller Field through Edison. So later on, if people find out that the sports field can be also accessed off of Knollwood through this public walkway, which is off a private driveway, they're just going to start parking up on Knollwood on that. So that's my main concern on that. So that's all I really have to say is not only the parking at the school, but on Knollwood Terrace that has the cut through onto the Edison Field.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hogla.
Thank you.
We have Jen Gilman. Are you there, Jen?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Jennifer Gilman, 1750 Florida Street. I am commenting, just thanking the town council and the Board of Ed for working together to come to the letter of intent agreement at the last council meeting. I also would like to thank the public. So as chairwoman of the Recreation Commission, I want to thank everyone who has expressed any input to date, and we look forward to continuing to hear from everybody. This is just the beginning of the process, as everyone has said, and we have an exciting opportunity here to partner with the Board of Ed to solve part of this problem of very limited field space in town. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. Anyone else like to be heard tonight? Please raise. We have yes, Mr. Smith, Sean Smith. Are you there?
Yes, thank you. Sean Smith, 605 Westfield Avenue. I'm also speaking tonight a little bit about the Edison project. I spoke at the last meeting when it was first presented, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that we're actually doing something, but I am cautiously, I will say I'm pessimistically optimistic in my hope that this actually happens, because in 2012, the Board of Ed tried to turf a part of the field at the Westfield High School and the voters voted it down. In 2018, Tamaulipas was moving forward, or 2017, Tamaulipas was moving forward, and the voters effectively voted it down because it became a political issue in that election. And now we have an election that's coming up, and we have a new issue trying to turf another field at the same time that the town is trying to come up with a creative way to finance it so it doesn't cost us taxpayers money out of our actual pockets, but rather a developer down on South Avenue contributing through pilots. And well, I'd like to echo some of what Mr. Pardo stated, which is our fields are bad. We are driving our children to play sports in other towns. They're wearing the Westfield banner, but soccer's playing in Garwood and in Edison, and lacrosse is playing in Scotch Plains, and the baseball fields are being maintained, but they're paying for it out of their own pockets by having its members bond the field so that they can do that. And while this is happening, we have a political process, which is part of the US, where we're going to fight and politicize whether light technology that existed 30 years ago is going to create light pollution 3 streets over, when the reality is the education about that light pollution shows that that light pollution is non-existent. We've got lights in every town in the state of New Jersey. And when you talk to people who live in those towns, they're happy and thankful that they have those facilities for their children, because their children get to wear the Summit banner and play in Summit. We have 4,000 youth members of soccer and lacrosse alone, all wearing Westfield across their chest, all being forced to have home games not in Westfield, because we don't have Board of Ed fields that are playable. We have refs that stop games and don't allow games to happen, which is why we've moved out of town. And that's not acceptable. And how do we know it's not acceptable? When the town did its master plan for the parks, the overwhelming majority of people came forward and said, we have to fix our outdated infrastructure in our parks. Well, we've got something identified here. And the speakers that are coming forward and criticizing the board or the council for moving forward with a part of that plan haven't taken the time to read the 521 pages of that plan that included Edison and turfing Edison and putting lights on Edison. And that plan was adopted and approved 2 years ago. So council, as I said 2 weeks ago, we're in support of the turf field. We're in support of the lights. Your voters are in support of that. Move forward with it, but you have to do it in a way that protects it if the election does not go in favor of this current administration. Because if it doesn't, we will be in the exact same place we were in 2012, 2018, and unfortunately in the fall of 2021. And that's with unsafe fields for our children. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Smith.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Matt Wilson. Matt, are you there? There you go.
Hi, Matt Wilson, 13 Normandy Drive. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak and talk to you tonight about the Edison Fields project. The proposals to build a number of turf fields behind the school, 400,000 square feet. I definitely think that there's the number of fields and the amount of turf that's required just seems to be a bit much. You know, when we go to visit complexes, sports complexes that are built for this purpose, most of them don't have all turf fields. There are mostly grass fields that are maintained and maintained well. They have proper drainage. And when you turf all of these fields, where is the drainage going to go? It's going to go into all of the neighboring houses, but it's not just going to go into the neighboring houses and the creek. It's going to expand beyond the neighboring houses as well. So that definitely needs to get looked into. I've got kids in sports too, so I'm certainly understand the crunch to get fields and make sure that we maintain them properly. And I certainly echo my another caller's position with respect to upgrading additional fields along the around the town so that kids can bike and walk, and that we don't have the congestion that's placed into one particular area. The price tag of the cost is 18 million, whereas the price tag of the Tamaqua Park was significantly less. And the previous caller mentioned that it wouldn't have done much good, but I disagree with that. He said that adding turf fields would help. You're adding turf fields into the Tamaqua Park, that would have helped. The payment of the plan is by using the pilot program, I believe is a tax abatement for a number of years. I don't know if it's 10, 20, or 30, but you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, in my opinion. The lights, I understand that there's a picture of lights in the field and that there's light pollution. It's more the noise in the neighborhood, as well as the parking situation and congestion. So when you have events that are both going on at Keller and Edison, and if they're both at night, then you just get that much more noise and night pollution in that area. That's all I have tonight, but thank you for allowing me to talk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thanks, Matt.
We have, hold on. We have Kristen Wilson.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm Kristen Wilson. I live at 13 Normandy Drive. I wanted to speak tonight just to express my concerns about the proposed field project. One of my biggest concerns as a mom is the safety aspect of bringing so many more cars into the area of Edison School. I know the council has been working really hard over the past several years to make Westfield more pedestrian and bike friendly, which I think is wonderful and very much needed. I really appreciate that. But unfortunately, I'm just concerned that this plan with Edison will really undermine those efforts. by drawing more traffic to an area where people walk and bike frequently. One of the nice things about the area around Edison School is that so many people walk and bike. We have, kids coming and going to all the different schools, friends' houses, people walking dogs. As you probably know, the track team runs right through this area, going from like high school Keller area to Tamaqua Park Field. And as another resident mentioned, there's some paths that connect. There's the path that connects the Knollwood High Slip area to Normandy Drive, and then one that connects Normandy to Willow Grove, which makes this a really popular route for walkers, bikers, runners to go from other parts of town to Tamaqua Park. And just with where things stand now, I've seen, I hate to say, but multiple near misses between kids walking and biking around Edison and cars, especially around pickup time at Edison when there's more cars parked on Rahway and Vermont and Normandy. And I think I have, definitely a concern as a mom and maybe a different perspective because, once your kids are in middle school or high school, parents aren't walking to school with them. So they're not really seeing what's happening. But as I've come and go around that time, like I've said, I've held my breath a number of times seeing the kids interacting with the cars and just some really frightening things. And my concern is that this will just get worse and be a more frequent occurrence with the proposed fields in use. And I think it's really easy to think, the proposed project will only impact the people who live adjacent to the field, but I think it'll really create a more difficult and dangerous situation for anyone coming through that area. I have 3 children. They're all involved in sports, and I really want my kids to be involved in sports. I want all kids in Westfield to be able to play sports, but I also think there's a lot of value to kids being able to walk safely and bike to schools, to the park, to friends' houses, into town, to 7-Eleven, which seems to be popular with the middle school boys that my son hangs out with. And I think we really need to think about how we can improve the field situation, but to do it in the smartest, safest way possible. I think, one thing we can all agree on is that we want the best for the kids in town. And I would just hate to see us trading one problem, the lack of field problem, for another problem, which is making things more dangerous for pedestrians and bikers in the area. So that's just something that I felt strongly about expressing and, that I hope will be considered as we, go forward and discuss, possible solutions to the field situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. We have Austin Williams. Austin, you're on mute. Are you there? Austin? You're on mute. Austin Williams, are you there?
I don't think his hand is raised, Jim.
No? Okay. Okay, he was at the top of the slide. Anyone else like to be heard? Anyone else want to raise their hand virtually to be heard? Anyone else? Last go around? Oh, we have, okay. Carlos Soria. Carlos, you there?
Yes, hello. This is Carlos Soria. I'm on 654 Raymond Street. I also wanted to just talk about the Edison Field project. I'm likewise a father of 2 children who are very actively involved in sports. The only thing I want to raise here is I've been in this town for 12 years. I've heard of a lot of projects being discussed, things that have come and go. I heard one of the callers state that their kids had played in Westfield. They'd play sports in college. I really do hope that we can get something done before my own kids head off to college. So, just want to lend my support to something getting done. I hope that I know there's certainly, pros and cons for projects in general. But I think that, when you see the number of children involved in projects in sports, you see the number of fields that we have in this town, the quality of the fields, the number of kids that may be either unable perhaps to play sport or have to leave town, go somewhere else to really become involved in other sports activities. I know that several of my friends have had children leave the town to play in other areas and other sports, in other towns just because either lack of space for children in the fields, or lack of quality of the fields, or concerns about safety, on some of the grass fields that are just, not very well kept or maintained. So for me, like I said, I just hope something can get done. It's been, I've been hearing about this for a while. I've seen many people talk about it, but just hoping that we can move forward with something. And this feels like a project that can at least, give us some fields for our children. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have Anthony. Anthony, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Name and address, please.
Hi, it's Anthony Scaglione, 543 Washington Street.
Okay.
What I just wanted to say is, I really doubt there's anybody who's against improving fields and making things better for our sports programs, and also for people who want to exercise and make use of those facilities, even when they're not part of youth sports teams. But the problem I see is that this plan concentrates everything in one place. And this discussion came up previously when we were talking about temporary lighting at Keller Field. And the thing that really bothers me is that this plan should be comprehensive and throughout the whole town. It shouldn't be that 1% of the population of this town has to carry the burden of all the issues that are involved with sports teams and sports fields. There are fields all over this town, and there are ways to spread the improvements across this town such that one particular, like 3-block square area has to absorb all of the problems, whether it be lights, whether it be traffic. And one can make an argument that if you have enough fields all around this town that are either turfed or in good shape, real grass fields that can be maintained, you won't need lights, because there'll be enough fields to play on for everybody, where you don't have to go to 10 o'clock at night, where you're going to have 6th grade kids running around practicing at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. So what this project needs to understand is it has to be spread out through the town. There's no reason in the world for everybody to come to one spot. I know a lot of people were upset when we started the kindergarten at Lincoln School, and people were upset that they had to drive all the way across town to drop their kids off at kindergarten. People were upset at the Washington School when there was some redistricting done, and some of the kids had to come all the way to Edison, so far away from where they live. But yet when it comes to sports teams, all of a sudden we don't want to stay local, where the kids could walk to the fields. So it's really important that this gets looked at from the quality of life issue. It needs to be spread throughout the town. It'll reduce driving. Kids can walk to the fields. You might not need lights if you look at it hard enough and figure out how. If Roosevelt Field was fixed, what would that do? Okay, if Franklin School was fixed, what would that do? And then the Elm Street Field was fixed, what would that do? So all those fields that are able to be used, if they're turfed, there won't be an issue with rain and recovery from the rain. So there won't be days where they can't be used. And it doesn't all have to fall on 8 fields in one little spot behind Edison School. And that's the key. And I hope you take that into account. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Scaglione.
Thank you.
We have Mona. Mona, are you there?
Yes,
Good. Name and address, please.
Mona Zhao, 9 Normandy Drive.
Okay.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. So I would echo the previous speakers' sentiments. Completely agree that everyone in this town wants the kids to have sports fields to play with. And then, but there's no reason to concentrate on this one particular area for the residents in this area to shoulder the burden for the whole town. And then when I think there's one particular speaker ahead of time talked about light pollution, that with all the technology and whatever, I agree with that. I'm not an expert on that. But if your house is right next to the field, if that light shines directly into your kid's bedroom, it's not a pollution issue, it's a quality of life issue. 10 o'clock at night, I might have a small child that needs to go to sleep. Why do I need that in my window? I am not a sports person myself, so I don't understand why the lighting is so important. And also the noises that comes through when you play sports for the neighboring houses, to hear the noises all the time. Is that fair to all the residents in that area? I don't think so. You know, it's very easy for people who don't live in the area to say, oh, it's wonderful to do that. But when your house is right next to the field, how would you feel? I want you to really think hard and look inside yourself to answer this question honestly. If that field is right in front of your house, your daughter's bedroom, would you be okay with it? I am not an expert on economics and finances, but the $18 million price tag is pretty huge. I'm not against improving fields, but we need to look at it in a comprehensive way to see if the town can come together and be honest about it, that, you know, why can't it be on the, if we be selfish, say, why can't you improve Roosevelt? Why it has to be Edison? I don't want the Roosevelt people to shoulder the burden by themselves either. So we need to be fair and look at the whole picture and come up with a better plan. And also, I realized, because we live close to Edison, there are a lot of kids after school go play on Edison Field. Sometimes they set up fireworks and they just play there. So what are those kids to go? You know, maybe you can say they go to Tamaguas Park, right? But if you turf the Tamaguas Park, they can play in Edison Field. So there's trade-off that you should look at. So, you know, someone mentioned earlier that, you know, first you thought about Keeler, then you thought about Tamaguas. So it's like, you know, you do something, some neighborhood said, no, okay, fine, we move it to someone else. So you just keep shopping around town to see who takes it. I don't think it's fair. You need to look at more comprehensively. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mona.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mona.
Anyone else like to be heard? Please raise your hand virtually. Anyone else? Mr. Crawford? Are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Name and address, please.
Sure. Brian Crawford, 795 Knollwood Terrace. Good evening. I really wanted to talk about the Edison project from the standpoint of the environment. What environmental studies are planned for this project to really measure the impact, you know, in terms of traffic, in terms of rolling out 400 square feet of plastic carpet on the field, in terms of the cost of the lights. What study has been done around that to understand what the economic impact is to our town in terms of the environment? We like to pride ourselves as being a progressive town, about having green initiatives. 400,000 square feet of plastic doesn't sound like a green friendly project. So, you know, getting people, having people drive all across town and creating congestion and traffic doesn't really sound green friendly. So, you know, I'm interested in understanding what studies have been done around that. With respect to public safety, I'm also interested in understanding what this is going to mean to our police force. How much are we going to have to expand our police force now to cover this additional burden? Are we going to have to rob from Peter to pay Paul? So people on the north side of town are going to have less police because we have more police now focused in the Edison area? How is that going to work? What is that going to cost? We've heard $18 million, but what other costs are associated with this project that we should be thinking about and be aware of? So I look forward to hearing more about it. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mr. Crawford. Anyone else like to be heard? Please raise your hand virtually. Anyone else? Last go around. Anyone else? Seeing none, Mayor, you may close the hearing.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Jim. And thank you to all the residents who came to the meeting tonight, and particularly those who came up to share their views and comments and concerns at the mic tonight. We appreciate all of the feedback. I'm going to attempt to address some of these things, and I'm going to ask others on the council to help out at various points. I'm going to leave the majority of the questions that related to Edison Fields for the last part of this. Maybe we'll tick off some of the other questions ahead of that. I think I'll start with the question that Mr. Laporta asked about the engineer. Jim, I'll share what I know about it, and I'll let you add. But just to assure everyone, in the town about the process that we've been through to find a replacement for Chris McAloon, there's been an extensive search, and we do take this position very seriously. We want to make sure that we hire the right person. And we've had several candidates that we thought were going to work out that ultimately did not. We basically have gone forward to hire Van Cleef as an interim fix until we can find the right person. Jim, I don't know whether there's anything else you want to add to that.
I just, the only thing I'll add is that that's correct. We did do 2 searches, and I as the town administrator, it's my appointment. I take all the department head positions very seriously. I'm very picky, frankly, of who is the right fit that's going to serve Westfield properly. And we had some great candidates, but as the councilwoman said, it didn't work out. We did go out to a request for proposals for engineering firms. It's very common for the state of New Jersey, engineering firms serve as town engineers. It's a very common thing all over New Jersey. We haven't had that process here. We are starting it now. And I'm happy to say, as the resolution or proclamation we actually read tonight for Chris leaving, it's a requirement by the state of New Jersey to appoint a town engineer. And we have a new engineer. I actually was with him today. His name is Dave Battaglia. He's from Van Cleef Engineering, highly qualified, highly seasoned person. And I'm very confident in his abilities. The difference really is that it's a consulting firm and it's a few less hours per week than a full-time person. As Linda said, we're going to see how this process works, but we have every opportunity to move in any direction we want and flexibility to go back to a full-time engineering or look at other options. But I don't want to sell our process short. We have a highly qualified team that serves other towns already. And Dave, just today, we had meetings with the resident in town. We drove around town. I am very confident in his abilities, and I think we should all give him a shot. I think we're going to be very happy with it. And then this council and myself will be able to decide whether this is the model that works for us or not. And we have plenty of opportunity to change that. But and one last thing about the cost. When you have a full-time person, you're paying salary, pension, benefits, etc. When you have a consultant, you're not paying pension, you're not paying benefits. So we did look at that very closely. And right now, of course, it's only a 6-month contract to year's end, but it fits within our budget this year. And then we'll make some decisions as we move forward. But I'm very confident in Dave and his abilities and Van Cleef's resources that we can get beyond what we have with one person. So I think this is a good opportunity. And I wouldn't have suggested it or recommended it to council if I didn't think it was.
There was also a question about the Wonder trucks, and I'll just let folks know that there has been a lot of engagement with the owners of Wonder to try to figure out the best way for us to address concerns that we've heard from a number of neighbors. So, please understand that that's an ongoing process. To invite them to work with our restaurants instead of being competitors to our restaurants, to help them find parking solutions that work for us, and and to address the noise issues. So that's an ongoing process, and we'll get back to you with more information as that conversation continues. As it relates to the Green Team survey, David, I'm going to just kind of take this on and thank Mrs. Murphy for her comments, that we're always looking to improve. And so thank you for your feedback on improving ways that we can receive feedback from the residents, so that we get the most comprehensive feedback. And we hear from as many people as possible. So we appreciate you looking at that and in as much detail as you did, and we'll take all that under advisement. I think honestly, most of the other, most of the other comments tonight really, related to the Edison Fields project. Did I miss anything, Jim? I know I know everyone's taking notes.
I think that's right. We had people, everything else was related to Edison Fields in some
Yeah.
way with concerns or positive comments towards the field, yes.
Right. And I just want to reiterate how grateful we are for people paying attention and coming to council meetings and giving us feedback on this. There's been a couple of comments tonight about the fact that we need to do a comprehensive review of, and I will say that there's been a very comprehensive review. There was an entire parks master plan undertaken by the town that is available on the website. For those of you who haven't had a chance to take a look at it, I really encourage you, to read through it and see all of the, recommendations and findings that Branstetter Carroll had in that report. Councilman LaGrippo and Councilman Dardia were both part of the steering committee that contributed to the, to the findings in that report. And so I don't think that as comprehensive an approach has probably ever been taken to try to find solutions in town. I will say that we opened this up for town feedback before we know all of the answers, to questions that you might have, because we don't know all the questions and concerns that residents will have until we start talking about something. So Branstetter Carroll did a very comprehensive evaluation of where fields could be introduced in town, and they gave recommendations to us. We have a very precedent-setting opportunity to work alongside of the Board of Ed, to utilize fields that they have. Please know that there is nothing more important to this council than public safety and addressing concerns that you have around parking and congestion and lighting. All of those things are being looked at now, and all of the comments that you've made, will be taken into consideration. And we will, as I mentioned earlier in this meeting, be holding a neighbors meeting coming up in the next 2 weeks. And then there will be 3 overall public meetings that everyone should come to and participate in, so that we can start addressing questions and concerns that you have. We don't have all of the answers for you tonight because we opened this up while we were still studying it, because we want people to have an opportunity to provide their feedback to us, and for us to be able to take that into consideration. The one thing that I think might be valuable, though, Jim, is if you could provide a little historical perspective on what a couple of residents referred to as the Tamaqua Park plan. That happened before I was sitting in this seat, and so I'm not sure that I'm really the best person to respond to that. But it seems that some people believe that it was a plan to put fields in a bunch of different places in town, and perhaps maybe you can just provide the facts to the listeners tonight.
Sure. Well, just real quick. So just a couple things before I even mention that. And I think it's important. A couple of callers tonight also mentioned that they like to see fields all over town, the improvements of fields all over town. And that is what the Parks Master Plan recommended. That's why we brought them in to look at fields across town. But unfortunately, I tell the council members this all the time. We can do anything and everything we want to do, we just can't do it at the same time due to cost and so forth. And so you have to start somewhere. And this was a recommendation that was in the Parks Plan, Edison School. But then ultimately, the Recreation Commission was tasked with the thought of how do we prioritize things based upon existing resources. And that's how we got to where we are today. But I think it's important when you mentioned acting mayor is important. We are what's being discussed with Edison School is the concept now that the public process begins, and the final product of this concept at this point will be shaped by the public input. Not very dissimilar to where we were with Tamaqua many years ago in 2016 and 17. That process had not been really publicly vetted either. It had been discussed internally with Recreation Commission, council committees as well. That was a plan that Genesis came out of a proposal for a building expansion to house, I think, wrestling that needed a home, and then came into really what was called a Tamaulipas Park mini master plan, which was new building facilities, moving some things around, but mostly the centerpiece was putting turf field on top of existing field number 4 in Tamaulipas with lights. Again, I think one of the callers tonight said that wouldn't have helped. It would have, put a dent in things, but at that point in 2016-17, we didn't have the benefit of a comprehensive town master plan. So that project was basically moving along in internal discussions and had not been publicly vetted, and was not, ready for, design specs, public funding. When people say shovel-ready projects from an engineering or town perspective is a project that's been designed, publicly vetted, bid specs have been produced, and you're either hiring a contractor to do it or you're about to hire a contractor. In both of these cases, both the Tamaulipas Park Plan and where we are today, neither situation are we in. We are right now for this plan, we're in the public process to get input for the next number of months. In the Tamaulipas Plan, it was actually at a point where there was a lot of tweaking going on to the plan, and probably would have been publicly talked about probably in late 17, early 18. But of course, the election obviously changed the members of the council, so the direction changes, which happens sometimes. So anyway, so that's just a quick overview, but the plan for Tamaulipas was basically taking over Field 4 and that general area and putting in very similar to what exists at Houlihan Sid Fay today, a larger and a smaller sided turf field on top of existing field that existed on Field 4, and moving a basketball court, doing some improvements to the shuffleboard area, and putting in a larger facility building for internal programs, storage, and other indoor sports space. So that's where that was.
Yeah, Jim, just to add, Mayor Brindle did cancel that in February of 2017. I think she was in office approximately 1 month at that time. So just so the public knows, that's where that plan stemmed from and was canceled through the Recreation Committee.
But I think it's important for the public to know that that decision was made, Mark, and you well know this, because that plan was not developed with extensive public input like the Parks Master Plan that you sat on the steering committee of. I think what the mayor and the council said at the time was, we should really look at all fields in town and come up with the best approach to addressing our field deficit or our lack of fields, rather than just talk to particular user groups and just basically let's put it into Tamaulipas because it's easy. So I think we all support, and I think you would support because you sat on the steering committee, the process that led to a prioritized list of projects in this town that led to this Edison Field Plan. Now, that doesn't mean the field plan is perfect. I've said to many residents in Ward 3, and I know, Mark, you have as well, that there are legitimate concerns that need to be addressed, and that this public process is designed to elicit those concerns and those questions and make sure they are addressed. Just like the ice rink, the public process led to improvements to that proposal. And I expect the same thing to happen here. This proposal has to be improved. There are legitimate concerns, but let's not go back to a Tamaulipas plan that was developed basically behind closed doors with only athletic user groups and never talking to residents, not talking to the whole town. And it would have transformed Tamaulipas from a beautiful park into more of a recreation complex. And I think a lot of residents would have been opposed to that. So I think Mark, please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me. I don't interrupt you, okay? Be respectful. That's the one thing you owe me, and we all owe each other, is to be respectful. So I just want to say that the master plan was precisely done to understand what this town wants across all user groups. That's what ultimately leads to a better proposal. We're now in the public input process to improve proposals or radically change them. We have to see where this process goes.
Yeah, I'll just say,
Just real
Councilman.
quick, Mark, real quick, Mark.
Yeah, good.
There are two corrections we need to make here that you said. First is February 2017, that's the wrong date. And when we all decided to hold off on that Tamaqua plan, it was just that. It was a collaborative decision. It wasn't just Mayor Brindle.
Let me just add, it was February of 2018. Mayor Brindle was in office less than 30 days, and we had the concept. And the biggest disappointment about the steering committee is the Tamaqua plan they came back with was basically the same exact plan minus turf, which included lights, which really doesn't make sense if you're not going to turf it. So, we could have the back and forth, but the concept was there and we could have tweaked it or moved forward with it. And David, you even said, your quote is saying, just give us another year. And that was 3 years ago. So, that's the reality of it.
Yeah, but Mark, let's not talk. Let's also acknowledge that you sat on the steering committee that led to this proposal. So now I know you're totally against it. You're not even giving the plan that you supported. You voted to approve a chance. Now, as I've said, I think all the residents who spoke tonight have legitimate concerns that need to be addressed. Yeah. Absolutely. And I started to bring some of them up myself 2 weeks ago because I could anticipate what the issues are. I wish you had actually, made sure that some of these issues were addressed. David, let me finish, Mark, please. All right. I don't think I need to mention, respect again. So again, I think we need to let the process play out. We need to hear the residents, identify their concerns, primarily in Ward 3 and 4, because Edison straddles both. I think parking is absolutely a concern. I think traffic is a concern. I think noise is a concern. I think the lighting, absolutely, we need to better understand it. I think the pictures do tend to speak that the light does not project out as it may have done years before. But we shouldn't kill this plan before the public process is consummated and completed. And we give the experts who developed the plan enough opportunity to address the concerns and possibly refine the plan so maybe it could work for Westfield. I feel like, you're putting too many, right now, it's sort of like, do we say yes or do we say no? And I don't think that's the decision in front of us as a council. I think right now the decision is no decision. There's a proposal that needs to be evaluated, that needs to be assessed, and in my mind has to be improved, just like the ice rink. And that's what we should let happen.
I think Councilwoman Mackey would like to say something.
Hi, I just want to clarify that this plan actually never made it out of the rec. It never made it to the council at all, never made it past the rec department. But I also want to say that I echo David's comments and really every resident. We have a lot to talk about here. We're at the beginning. I know that I was out there Friday speaking to residents that they have very valid concerns that we will listen to and address before we make any decisions. But I really, as a Ward 4 representative, I am flabbergasted that everybody on this call seems to think that the Tamaqua plan was welcome in that neighborhood. That the user groups in that neighborhood well exceed sports teams. We've got people who walk, bike, jog, bird watch, bring children to play. So they didn't want turf in there. They didn't want lights. That neighborhood, there's already a parking issue in that neighborhood. That plan failed to address the parking also in that neighborhood. So I just want to be clear, when everybody is holding that plan up as an alternative to this one, we need to be completely honest with the public. That plan had not yet made it out of rec because rec couldn't agree that it was the right plan. But I can tell you, as somebody who spoke to the residents around that neighborhood, and I continue to speak to the residents, there was no way that was going to sail through. They didn't want it. They had legitimate reasons as well. That is a natural park. So we have a lot to talk about here. My mind is certainly not made up. We need a lot of answers. We need clarity, but we're at the beginning, and I appreciate everybody coming out. It's late. I know how hard it is to devote the time, but I appreciate it and we're listening to you. And I just wanted to provide some clarity on Tamaqua. Thank you.
And given the fact that we're not here tonight to resolve any of these things, but to listen and continue down this path of taking feedback from residents and putting forward solutions to what I think a number of residents tonight noted is a long-term, problem that we don't have sufficient fields, and it is pushing kids to play their sports outside of town. So we're trying to take very strong action to come up and move forward with a plan that will address the issues. And
Linda, can I add one quick thing on that?
Yeah,
Just a question that came up in the public portion. We put a public RFP out for design firms on this. And the steering committee did look at several different firms. We came down to 6 different firms, I believe it was. And Spiesel had a lot of experience with working with schools and also with working with wetland adjacent properties. So I know that there were some comments made before about the fact that we may not have actually looked at other firms, but we did go through the public RFP process, and Spiesel shown to the steering committee. So I feel really confident that a lot of these issues that we have relative to the water runoffs that some of the residents have will be satisfied by the engineering firm, design firm with Spiesel. That's all.
great. Thank you, Scott. That is something that we didn't address and was raised tonight. So thank you for mentioning that. I think that addresses the comments for tonight.
Bills and claims?
Yes.
Yay.
Move on to bills and claims.
I think this is the first time in 3.5 years I've gotten a chance to do bills and claims.
All right, Councilman Contract, would you like to?
So excited.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Acting Mayor. I'd like to move bills and claims in the amount of $446,727.47.
Great. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Dardia. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Next on the agenda is reports of standing committees, beginning with the Finance Policy Committee. Councilman Contract?
Absolutely. I have 4 resolutions to move as a package. The first is a resolution authorizing the town CFO to refund recreation department fees. The second is a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant for overpaid taxes in 2021. Third is a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw warrants for 2017 to 2020 pursuant to the Tax Court of New Jersey. And last, resolution confirming compliance with the local finance board rules regarding recommendations of annual audit. Just for the public to know, the town always submits its official financial statements to the state, and it gets audited, and we always sail through with a very strong audit. And this is just a resolution that confirms that every council member will sign and attest to, but it really speaks to the excellent financial stewardship of our administration.
May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman LaGrippo. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? The motion is carried. Next is the Code Review and Town Property Committee. Councilman Parmalee?
I have 3 resolutions that I'd like to move in as a package. The first one's a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the County of Union to modify the cooperative agreement. Second is a resolution to approve annual renewal of alcoholic beverage liquor licenses. And the third is a resolution to approve peddlers licenses.
May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? The motion is carried. I don't, Councilman Parmalee?
I'd also like to move general ordinance number 2219 on first reading, an ordinance adopting the Handler Building redevelopment plan.
May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Dardia. Any discussion?
Linda, I'll be voting no. Unfortunately, in good conscience, I can't vote yes, although the concept is cool, but just the way the process was handled by the council, it never came to code review for discussion. And I'm against increasing the density at the Williams Nursery location without proper discussion by the council.
Mrs. Rowley, could you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Habgood,
Yes.
Councilman Parmalee,
Yes.
Councilman LaGrepo,
No.
Councilman Katz,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mackey,
Yes.
Councilman Contract,
Yes.
Councilman Dardia,
Yes.
and Councilman Boyce.
Yes.
The motion is carried. Last is the Public Works Committee. Councilman Contract?
I have three resolutions to move as a package. The first is a resolution to award a contract for the purchase of public works equipment. It's a front-end loader, included in this year's capital budget. A resolution to award contract for the 2021 improvement of Willow Grove. That's being funded by state aid or state grant repaving. And the third is a resolution to award a contract for the 2021 improvement of Prospect Street. This is being funded by state grant as well as county grants, repaving as well.
Terrific. May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Mackey. Any discussion? All in
Nope.
favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The motion is carried.
Mayor, Acting Mayor, can I just, if you wouldn't mind, I just wanted to just thank Don and Topology. A lot of work going on behind the scenes, not just with Handler, but a lot of things going on. And I just want to thank them for their time and effort, Don particularly, in-house. And it's just, behind the scenes, just a lot of work that needs to be produced to have these meetings that you have here, reports, Topology, and the whole redevelopment team. And again, just thank you for your kind comments for Chris. Again, I just want to reiterate, he has big shoes to fill, as we know, but I'm very confident in what we're doing right now. And I was very encouraged today. I had a great meeting with David and had some resident visits today out in the field. And I think we're in good hands as we go forward for the summer paving schedule. So again, thanks again for all your support.
I agree. If there aren't any other comments from the council, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Wait, Linda. Wait.
Yep, okay.
I just wanted to mention that we've got a public call for artists happening right now. We are getting ready to do murals under the Central Avenue underpass. It's going to be, this time it's going to be done by local artists. And one side nearest Manhattan Bagel is going to be, the theme is going to be welcome. And the side closest to 333 Central, the theme will be Charles Adams. The welcome side will be completely funded by the Westfield Public Art Commission, and the Charles Adams side will be funded by Adams Fest. And the information is up on the website, but we're looking for local artists. We welcome student artists. A small stipend will be offered, and we're really excited to bring some light and color to that really dark, unwelcoming underpass on Central Avenue. Many residents have asked for it, and we're super excited that we could finally be moving forward on this. So I hope that everybody applies and lends their talents the way that they have come through for us with the myriad of other art projects in the past. When the community comes together like this, wonderful things happen. So thank you. Yes, Mike.
Question about that. Does that project include improved lighting?
I know that we allotted money in the capital budget for lighting. I believe
We did.
that was a goal. David, yes?
No, we did. We did include money for lighting. So I think it's going to be a significant improvement to that corridor.
Yeah, I think it's, as certainly with more people moving into that building, more people walking, it's really essential to have better lighting in that area. It's a
No,
safety issue.
agreed. And also to make it look prettier and more pleasing.
Can't argue with that.
Agreed.
All right, great. And any other comments before we take a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I want to say, Linda Havgood, acting mayor, you did a great job tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank
for
you,
filling in.
Linda.
Great
Thank
job, acting mayor.
I'll be happy to hand the gavel back to Mayor Brindle.
Linda really just wants to do bills and claims again.
Right, exactly. So, all right.
Night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
We do need to take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. So moved.
Second? Second.
Yeah, second.
See you in person next month.
All right. If none are
Look forward
opposed,
to it.
this motion is carried and the meeting is adjourned.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.